What's your carnal theory?
Hey there, you're listening to Carnal Theory, where we talk with experts from around the world to learn how taking command of our sexual story affects our personal wellness, sexual experiences, and relationships with ourselves and others. Hi everyone, I'm Abba.
And I'm Amanda. And today we're talking with Shakun Sethi, a serial entrepreneur on a mission to break down the many taboos, silence, and misinformation around sexual well-being and create a more universal and just inclusive ecosystem in which to talk about sexual norms and sexual well-being. She is dedicated to providing people everywhere with the tools and resources to do so, which is what led her to founding Tickle.Life, which I really hope we have time to dive into that backstory more. But we'll definitely talk about this business that she has. Shakun, welcome, and thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much.
It's our pleasure. We, Shakun, as I mentioned to you, we like to start each show for us to get into conversation as well as for our listeners, and ask you to tell us what the Carnal Theory is that you've brought to the table. And as a reminder for our listeners who might be new, this Carnal Theory, it's something that's meant to challenge a presumption or a perception that we might have about something. And we'll end the episode by revisiting the theory just to see if maybe throughout the conversation, maybe our perceptions have changed on what Shakun has brought to the table for us today. So if you could kick us off with that, we'd appreciate it.
Yeah. So I just believe that it is imperative to be true to yourself and to know what makes you who you are, to be truly happy and content. And that has been my mantra for life.
It's a damn good mantra. Seriously.
Yeah. I think it's hard. I think it's a difficult thing to do. So I hope we can explore maybe ways in which we can do that.
And I think so much about what My Sex Bio is founded on, and we're going to get into this, but what I know from your backstory, it's literally just trying to do that. It's asking those questions. What makes me me?
Absolutely.
And then being that or doing that and living in peace because of that.
Yeah, like I think the best decision that I ever took was to listen to myself. What did I want? What was missing? What did my body, heart, my surrounding was asking me to do, to make me a better person. And these years of working with Tickle.Life has completely changed me. So when you say that it is difficult, absolutely it's difficult. But then if you really find something, that keeps on asking you to just go a little further, a little deeper, a little basic, I think you're closer to nirvana. And nirvana is just not meditation. Nirvana is just not finding inner peace, which is very different for very different people. I just think the most important thing is to be happy, and you'll only be happy when you know what do you want.
Yes. And can we talk about this concept of what being basic is?
Yeah, sure. It's actually also very closely related to what we are doing. So what we realized was that, we do not know what's happening in the world. And when we do not know what's happening, we end up having or, forming a fear for that thing. So fear leads to skepticism leads to judgment, and judgment leads to where we are right now. And, we are living in a very interesting time. We have COVID, we have riots, we have everything that you can think of happening wrong is happening right now. So what I'm talking about is like, let's go back, let's see what were we fair of, what the fair was of, and the fair was of something that we do not know. And, that's very simple. Why am I uncomfortable talking to someone? Or why am I not happy? Or why is it when I'm talking to a person, I am feeling jittery? why do I have to prove myself to someone else rather than proving to myself? So this is going very, very deep inside, and we don't have to answer questions as to why people act like this, or why things are happening like this. But the best way to do is what, as a person, you are doing, which you should change, or which you should introspect, so that you become better. So that is how I say that it's very important to be basic, because sometimes it doesn't matter. You might be able to buy a Beamer, but you might even be happy with a candy. It's very simple. Why do you have to like go out for, hey, you know what, I want the best car in the world? And once you get that car, are you happy? Or was it just because you thought that people will think that you've reached a level? So it's very important to understand where you are, what are you doing, why are you doing this. So yeah, so that is what I think is being basic.
Yeah, I wonder how far back we have to go in our history to reach a time where it's like, you know what, at this time things were basic. And I wonder if we're able to identify that, we can then see what external motivation or pressure came into society that caused that divide to go off into this
Absolutely.
other form of survival, because it's all evolutionary. Something
Absolutely.
caused something.
Absolutely. I just think that it's about the struggle, it's about survival of the fittest. So when you start talking about survival of the fittest, you forget that you will only be able to survive if you're strong. You will not survive if you have best of the things around you, as compared to whatever surroundings you are in.
Well, that might be part of it. Like, strength these days might have been adapted or reinterpreted to not maybe like literal strength, but it's monetary strength for a lot of it,
Yeah.
or power. Your network, someone's
Absolutely.
network these days can often be viewed as like, oh, well, that's a strong,
Absolutely.
high up person. They know da 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 da.
Absolutely. I just think that there are so many things that are going, and because of which people become really insecure about what they have. Because they are just like, this is mine. And like when we initiated Tickle.Life, and I was so clueless as to why I'm working in this industry, everything was like kept very close to themselves. There were like different silos, and people were working in their own houses, in their own offices. There was nothing that was bringing people together. And now the interesting thing that I'm seeing is people have started realizing that they have to let go. Because once you let go, then you start creating something which is bigger and better. So even if you go into therapy, it's always about letting go. Talk. Doesn't matter what you're talking about. You don't have to keep something inside.
Yes.
Yeah, so I just think it's like a connection of everything together, and it's just about why were we created. We were supposed to be social.
Totally.
And I think technology plays a really big part in that these days, especially with COVID right now. Most interactions are happening virtually.
Yeah.
And so that makes me, wonder, it's kind of a strange thing to consider technology and also going back to like our most basic roots, because those seem really like they don't seem like they would go together.
Yeah. I'm with you on this. It's so amazing that I've been meeting such amazing people while I'm not even in my city. I'm in a like a small hometown because of lockdown. Ideally, I should be completely like actually my favorite word, in a silo, and I should not be knowing anyone. But on the contrary, things have completely changed. Like, look at us, we're talking and we're like in different parts of the world together.
Yeah.
But I also think sometimes the situations around you and the environment around you just tell you that what, it's time to go back. It's time to like go and start meeting people and start being honest with people, because COVID taught a lot of people that you don't know if this is life. It doesn't like it doesn't matter if you get to travel across the world. Right now, at the end of the day, you are just you, and you might be like stuck in your house. So how are you going to live? How are you going to do things? You have a basic need of talking to people. of knowing people, of having somebody around, and how we're going to, fulfill that. And I think technology is the best. If, it is just making it more possible. And I always have this thing that, when something new happens, it's like a fad, but fad is also, leads to an unhealthy aspiration. Maybe that was what tech did initially, that, hey, I don't need anybody else. I can, have my best laptop, my best iPhone, like whatever, technology, and I can be just focused on myself. But now, because, we've reached a stage, we've matured, we've started realizing that, hey, technology can also take you back to where you were supposed to be. And it was supposed to support you as a human being to become a better person, rather than, tell you what to do and tell you what not to do.
Yeah. So
And that's up to us.
you do a lot of or you're involved highly with the sex tech industry. I know with women of sex tech, a lot of people might not know what that term is. How does sex and technology intersect in this way?
It's very simple, actually. And sometimes I even think that, why do we have this specific term for sex, like for sex and technology? We have been using technology since ever. We had, like, when we had videos created, like, porn videos created, that was also technology. So anything that you're doing, if suppose somebody is giving you therapy over Facebook or over Zoom, they're using technology. So the easiest way that I actually tell people, and because a lot of my friends do not know what sex tech is, I just say that, what, when you think about sex or any education or any input or any awareness that you need from sex, if that is done by any mean of, technology, instead of offline, one-on-one, that's sex tech for you. And also, when you're talking about women, I keep on harping this fact that it's not about women. It is gender inclusive. There are a lot of people who are working in this industry. I'm bold, like every day I get to meet so many people, across gender, across sexuality. It's amazing, and the kind of work that they're doing. But unfortunately, there's a taboo attached to, that's the funny thing. It's a carnal need. It's a very basic need, but just, it has been developed into something which people are not comfortable with. And, it's the same thing, it's about fear of, why do I feel like this? Why do I feel happy after it? What's happening? And because you never had those answers, you reached where you are right now. This might make me weaker. On the contrary, it makes you stronger, because if you're happy, you're just strong. You can handle your work better. You can handle all the mishaps that are happening better. So I just think that, when you try to make people understand it this way, they get it.
And so to help people understand it, you founded a platform called Tickle.Life. And I think it's really important. I think your story of getting there helps. I think it supports what we're talking about, this acknowledgement of what is basic. So could you tell us and our listeners how and why this Tickle.Life came to be?
It just came out because I think I ask a lot of questions. And I think I ask a lot of questions to myself. Like sometimes I actually have to tell myself, Shakun, can you just shut up for a minute? Like a lot is happening here. So I just had a question, that why was it taking me so long to go to a sex toy shop, which was in my vicinity? It should not take me so long. And when I ended up going inside, why am I lying?
Lying?
What? Yeah, because I lied that I don't want a toy for myself, but I said I want a toy for my aunt.
Ah.
And that was complete lie. It just makes you feel like, there's something happening which you've never understood. So maybe it's time to go back and to find answers. And then, because once a question comes into your head, then you consciously start asking other people about that question. And then you realize that there are a lot of people who are uncomfortable about this topic. Just not toys, but even the topic. Yeah. And why is it so? Because whenever we think about sex education or whenever we think about sexuality, we always know, it's always on your face. There will be those platforms which are black, red, orange. It's just like, too much happening. And it just makes a lot of us who have no idea what just happened. Why are we ashamed? Even more uncomfortable. So that was why Tickle.Life was created, with just one message, that there is an industry, and we call it sexual well-being industry or providers. We just don't talk about sex tech companies. We talk about therapists. We talk about sexologists. We talk about academicians. We talk about evangelists. We talk about people who have had this journey. They have so much to give, but they don't know how to give or where to give.
Mm.
And then there are a lot of people like us who want to take. So let's do something together. Let's just bridge this gap. And that is what Tickle.Life is doing, as helping people discover their needs, their desires, their questions, and the answers to those requirements. And let us help these sexual well-being providers discover the people who will benefit the most out of them. So that is what Tickle.Life is all about.
Well done.
And yeah, it's so important. And how do you, so I know you have like articles, and you're gonna start, or you have launched, or you're about to launch a podcast collection for people to like have these resources. Is that the primary means of doing so, or is there like a direct connection between these two people? Like, what are the exact ways of doing it?
See, what we're going to be doing is, or what our thought process till now is, let's become like a showcase center, a discovery platform where anything and everything about sexuality is showcased. So once it is showcased, it depends completely on the people from both sides. How do they want to take it forward? That is for now, because we just think that there are a lot of people, fabulous people, even the sexual well-being providers, they're already doing one-on-one connect. They're already talking. There are already a lot of organizations, which we also do have on our platform. So we just want specialists to do that. Our role is, let's find them that place where they can find each other, because that was also a problem with me. Like, it took me 2 years to find the right people, and the right resources, which should not have been the case, because you find so much stuff online, but you just do not know what is the right stuff. Like something very small. If you've never used a sex toy, and if you go and search for one, you'll find so many sex toys, But are they able to explain, or are they catered to the right people? Like many a times I used to go, and the explanation used to be so difficult, which I never used to understand. So I just used to be like, okay, fine, I'll come back later when I have more time. But that's sad. I want them. I'm going there again and again, but somehow the connect just breaks, like a 2 minute before the call. So what is happening? So that is what our role is, that letting them find this connect, and then let them do the magic that they're supposed to do. So that's why we always say that, we are not anybody's competition. We're just here to bring everyone together.
And under this umbrella of sexual wellness, what are some of the topics and mediums that people are bringing content? So we talked about podcasts and writing. What are some of the topics that are being covered, so that our listeners have a sense of what, if they go there, if they're looking for something, here's what they can look to find?
There's a lot happening. Like every day it gets updated. So like if I go today, because I haven't since morning, I will find something new. But the categories that you will start seeing are more to do with the phases of your life. So if you're single, if you're in a relationship, if you're going through something, if you're just like curious, or if you're aging, so we would like to cover all of them. But we would also, so what we've tried to do is, we've just tried to bifurcate in 3. One is, let's talk about different phases, a person is in. Like, I was single when I went to a sex toy shop because I was single and I thought it might be like, something that I would need. Uh, but then we do also have sections or categories which are very thought provoking, like, media, um, sex education, mental health, all these things are also covered. And then we do have, like a specific section for LGBTQ,
Mm-hmm.
but we've actually even bifurcated LGBTQ because with the assumption that a lot of us still do not know what LGBTQ is, because we were getting questions as in, what is the difference between L, and G? How do I know this is L and this is G? And just because they thought that, they are anonymous, so nobody's going to judge them, so they could ask. But just imagine, in reality, people do not ask.
And that's
that's
a
why they're
layer of
scared.
basic. That's
Yeah,
getting down to basic information, talking about basic needs,
absolutely.
but that basic information being disseminated is the starting ground of being able to have something to
Absolutely.
build upon, which is your
Absolutely.
large point of your point.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is that, the content is not by us. So when
Mm.
it is not by us, this is by people who have actually been working in these industries and these categories, or, on these subjects. So it just makes it more authentic and more real, which I think
Yes.
is very important, because then, people are also taking reference. So we are seeing a very interesting phenomena that a lot of other content platforms have started working with us. And they're like, you know what, this was missing. Can we take something from, like from this discovery platform, which we can showcase to our peer people, to our readers? So it just is making it so interesting that it is actually developing into an ecosystem,
Mm.
which is what we want. We just don't want, like, people maybe in like 2 years when they are sitting together in a living room, they just can't use the term sex, or they can't use like those basic terms which they should be, because it's basic. Come on.
And do you
So
have a specific culture or part of the world that you mostly cater to? I know you're currently in
um
India, correct?
uh I'm Indian, but the company is not Indian. The
Okay.
people are not Indian. So it is, the company is registered in San Francisco. So it's an out and out US based startup. But now the interesting thing is, we were always catering to North America, but through our analytics and the data that's coming, we've started realizing that it has actually started becoming global. Even our sexual well-being providers are no longer just from North America. We have people from UK, people from across Europe. We have few people from India. We have people from Singapore, Australia, and so goes with the audience. So I still say we are North American, but I don't know how true that is.
Well, that's part of why I asked. I wanted to see what analytics were saying, but also just the acknowledgement that this is a global need. This isn't
That's true.
a certain culture need.
That's true. I just think that, what, initially when people came, they got a little confused because they thought, hey, they're talking about sex and they must be talking about porn, which I don't think is bad. But it's just like, people just relate anything to do with sex, even if it is sex education, to porn.
Mm.
So they just were like, what's happening? Why am I reading? Or why am I listening? Or why am I watching videos? There were genuine questions like, when is the next thing going to come? And then we had to tell them, you know what, we are not getting into porn. That's not the industry that we are into. But if you want to go, please go ahead and watch.
That's an interesting educational insight right there, that's the foundational connection that's made, that one equals the other. That probably speaks a lot both of where existing education is coming from, as well as
Absolutely.
where expectations and where what people think are being taught is right and wrong and okay in a
Yeah.
sexual act is being learned. That's a
Yeah.
lot.
Like I was talking to an amazing platform called Please Me, and we were just discussing, the founders, that all the platforms that we see, usually most of the platforms, they're very bright, because somewhere the designers have taken some insight from how porn websites have been created. So even for us, the initial designs that our designers gave, they were very like very bright black, and like a lot of purple and a lot of red. And I was just like, what, oh my god, it's hurting my eyes, like what are you doing? Like, why is this design there? And I was like, that's how people relate to sex. And I think that's also a problem, because we
For
just
sure.
have like told people, this is sex, take my way or the highway. So we just want to say, there's no way, it's your way, it's whatever you like. So yeah, like even me, most of the time, like people end up saying that you are an outsider, but that's the fun part. When you just accept that this is who you are, people are okay with you after a while.
Yes.
Like, I'm talking to you, I get to talk to other people, and everybody has been so responsive. It's just about know yourself, know what do you want to do, who do you want to be, and just see the magic that will happen.
Exactly. And that lands us perfectly back around to wrap up. You basically just said it in a different way, but can you state the theory that you brought for us again?
It is imperative to be true to yourself and to know what makes you you, to be truly happy and content.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank you.
much for coming today.
Thanks so much for inviting me.
Yeah. And we hope that this episode has given our listeners something further to reflect upon. But if you have any questions or insights, feel free to reach out to us on our Instagram page at Carnal Theory or at MySexBio. And definitely check out Tickle.Life. You can either go to their website, you can also check them out on Instagram at Tickle.Life. There's so much to explore there, as you can probably tell at this point. But thank you.
Thank you so much. All right.
Carnal Theory is produced by MySexBio. Our sound design is by Audrey Cohane, and our theme music by Min the Universe. MySexBio is an educational platform built to empower people like you to take command of your sexual biography. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, and Spotify at MySexBio. Visit our website and join our e-letter at mysexbio.org and support our work by joining our Patreon. Thank you.